Good evening, everybody! Welcome to round 15 of International Sim Racing Organization's 1991 series, coming to you from Suzuka in Japan. The cars are finishing their qualifying session. We've got some rather dramatic news to report, along with many other things related to the championship. And I'm joined in the booth by Jonatan Acerclinth. Jonatan, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. A little bit spent after a couple of days of refereeing floorball, but looking forward to this race. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're approaching the end of this championship, and this is a circuit that certainly, over the years in real Formula One, has had its share of controversy, most notably the chicane incident between Senna and Prost, and then Senna taking Prost out the following year in the first corner. So this is a track that has had some very strange moments, and we have an equally strange one to report ahead of this one, and that is that Pascal Mikola has withdrawn from the 1991 championship. Pretty shocking development, Jonathan.
Yeah, it is, but I suppose it is what it is, considering from what I've understood that he's in a different location than where he has been racing for most of the year, and I'd assume there's some kind of issue in regards to that forces him to withdraw. But certainly very unfortunate for the championship. But Dave still has to finish the races to take the championship, so...
It is true, yeah. It's not like the championship ends here. It's up to Dave Miller to put in some good performances to overtake Pascal in the points. But here's a look at what's gone on in the series as far as the moves have been concerned. We got more musical chairs that have happened. You, Jonathan, have moved over to the Dallara team. I guess in the end, you and the Lotus team didn't see eye to eye.
It's actually a case of we saw eye to eye, but the engine deal saw that when the second Dallara was open, the Dallara team approached me and in bringing me up to the what I suppose you could call the senior team, and I was very happy to do so ahead of this race because, good or bad, I believe the Lotus chassis won't make up for the V8 Yad in that car. It's a bit too much down on power, I think.
Well,
this particular track.
Well, we'll be interested to see how you do, for sure. Also, Christoph Lichtenstein joins Leighton House. Unfortunately, I don't think he's racing tonight, but he did sign a deal with the House of Leighton. Ray Rodal has moved over to the McLaren team. Juha has moved to LaRousse. Apparently, I think Juha's reasons for leaving McLaren were that he just was too frustrated with the car. It's a very powerful car, and you know, even though it's a good car, if it doesn't gel with the driver doesn't gel with the car, you know, it's not going to make much difference. So he wants to move to a car that's more to his taste. And then, of course, the big piece of information, Pascal Mikola leaves Tyrrell. For a second, it looked like he was going to join us again with a one-off drive in car number 4, but that turned out not to materialize. So it is a disappointment because we were looking forward to seeing that championship battle on track, but we do have a race to run, and it's a very interesting circuit, Suzuka. Let's take a look at the map. It's the only circuit in the F1 calendar that actually crosses over itself. 3.644 miles around. This track was originally designed as a test track for Honda by the same guy who designed Zandvoort, I believe, Jonathan, John Hugenholtz.
That sounds like something I've heard before, so I reckon that it's correct.
It's a track that has all manner of different corners on it, lots of elevation change, and it's certainly not a point-and-shoot type track, or a track that looks like it has mathematical radii put on by a compass. There's a lot of double apex corners. It's a track that demands absolute concentration and skill from all the drivers. So I think it's gonna be a great challenge. The final challenge of the year is at Adelaide, but I think this is going to bring us good racing today.
For sure, it's going to be very interesting. As you say, the track has many challenges. the main challenge, I would say, is the S's, where you can gain or lose a huge amount of time, and if you're in a faster car and you end up behind a Lappy in that section, there's no way for them to go either. So that's certainly one of the most interesting points of this track.
Yeah, I would agree.
And of course, also with the very famous 130R, where a lot of crazy things has happened as well. I vividly remember a Toyota. I know it was a Scottish driver. I can't remember his name, but he did Le Mans later on, and he had a humongous off and coming out of 130R at like 200 miles an hour.
All right. Well, let's while we have a moment, let's go through the rest of our graphics here, showing the points. Of course, this is the current point situation after 14 rounds. Pascal Mikola in the lead, 63 points, not here today, and presumably will not be racing at Adelaide either. Dave Miller is in second with 58 points and has a clear shot at taking the lead. Even if he wins today, technically that won't be enough to lock up the championship, because it would still be mathematically possible for Pascal to get back in a car and actually challenge him, but we'll see what happens. The other cars there, or the other drivers, sorry, they're in gray, are not eligible to win the championship mathematically, but here they are. Jakes is in third with 40 points even. Gabriel Del Piccolo is, did I say third or fourth? David Jakes is third with 40 points. There we go. Fourth is Gabriel Del Piccolo with 36, and then we have a three-way tie for fifth place between Richard Coxon, Brian Janik, and Anders Nilsson with 28 points apiece. In the constructors' standings, Braun Tyrrell Honda is still on top with 65 points. Scuderia Italia gained considerably on them in the last race, and they now have 59 points. Cannon Williams' team has 58 points, and the last team that's eligible to win the Constructors' Championship Minority team is 45, and then Team 7-Up Jordan is in fifth with 42 points. Some other news items that we need to report with regard to this race. These are more technical in nature. The other news that we gave you was about drivers. For this race, Renault has upgraded the RS3B engine with improved torque and about 25 more horsepower. And this reflects what was going on in Formula One at the time, because Mansell was trying to make his last push for the championship, and as we know, he came up short by DNFing at Suzuka. But and then, of course, there was the debacle in the rain at Adelaide later. But this reflects Renault's trying to maximize Mansell's chances in Suzuka. Also, on the McLaren side, they have introduced a major aero revision, and the Honda engine that McLaren has supplied for Suzuka is a special one that has improved power and fuel efficiency. So that's a look at what's going on right now. I believe we are joined now by Alberto Ibañez. Alberto, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. How's it all going?
Well, good. We were lamenting the unfortunate decision by Pascal to withdraw from the championship, but even so, I think we have an excellent race in front of us here. It's a track that demands a lot from the driver, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to this one, as I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful tracks in the championship. It's really like snaking all the way up and down in the hills, even has got a bridge. It's a very unique track. I think like everything they do in Japan in that regard, because they tend to have a lot of personality when it's coming to such things. And it's going to be really a very interesting race, because this is a really a tire eater. So we should be looking at people here suffering a lot, trying to keep the tires in temperature. Cars need enough downforce for the big long corners, and it's going to be quite hard to overtake as far as I can tell, because even if there are one or two long stretches, the problem is that they don't end in a chicane, in a big braking area. So you have to overtake in this rather narrow track, doing it around the other car and not outbraking him. Yes, you can outbrake for the chicane, but then you come from a very high speed kink that is before, and that makes it very hairy. So I'm hoping that our usual top drivers are going to delight us with some exhibitions of real good craftsmanship here when driving the cars, because otherwise they won't be able to overtake. But I'm sure we will get our good dose of that.
Okay, here we go for a flying lap now with Bruno Chacon starting down the front straightaway, which I believe is downhill. You can notice that from looking at the garages, the way they're canted. Now he goes into the first turn here, and the second one is a little slower, so that's another neat feature about this track is double radius corners, double apexes, and then here comes the uphill sweeping S's section, which, as Jonatan pointed out, you can very easily gain or lose a lot of time here. Coming through, and there's this really big uphill section. You can see the Ferris wheel there because Suzuka is built in a amusement park. I think there's a bit of adverse camber coming off that corner there, which is why Bruno almost lost it. Now down to the second gear corner under the bridge. This is where the track crosses over. A little bit of a fade to the right here, and this is a hairpin. And you can actually get a fair amount of grip coming off of this one. Now we head into the section that's known as the spoon. Right hand, and oh my goodness, a very loose moment there for Bruno. That extra Renault power. Downshifting for the spoon curve. Back to the left a second time. You can see the double apexes here. And now we begin the run down to one of the most diabolical corners on this track, and that's saying a lot. Here's the alternate pits that are sometimes used in sports car races. Now watch Bruno take this left-hander, and he's lifting a little bit there, but some people will take that at an even more diabolical speed. Now downshifting for the very Mickey Mouse chicane right here. You can see the Ferris wheel just ahead again. Right, left, then back to the right again, heading downhill and into the start-finish straight, and that is one lap of Suzuka.
Yeah, and as you can see, as I pointed out, before the chicane, there is that kink that separates the men from the kids. And that's a problem with overtaking in that area, because you cannot really keep the car going with enough speed if you are going for the kink. So overtaking a car there is a very risky proposition. And here, when coming here to this area, you can see you need a lot of patience in the S's, so that you are holding the throttle there, and therefore it's not a place to overtake. And as probably everybody will have noticed, it's a very narrow track.
Yeah, and I would think that aero washout is going to be quite a problem here in some cases, particularly in that really fast left-hander, and through the S's when you're trying to stay with somebody. I think that might prove to be decisive in some cases. Let's take a look at, real briefly, what we have coming up at ISO. Obviously, our season is about at an end, but coming up next week, we go back, USAC, IndyCar Racing, rounds 11 and 12. This is the only time we'll be doing 2 rounds in one day. It's the Trenton Times 300 from an autumn-clad Trenton International Speedway. Should be very picturesque, but of course you'll have to be focusing on the tarmac and not the trees. Broadcasting for that, I believe, will be Jonatan, and that will be at 2000 CET. Also, the Foster's Australian Grand Prix, which will be coming up on November 29th. That's the final round of this championship. Green light at 2000 CET. Oh my goodness! You're not seeing it, but there was quite a wow. And then the final race of the USAC calendar will be coming up December 6th, and that's the Arizona 150. Green flag at 2000 CET. So, running out of stuff for 2020, but we've already announced our 2021 program, and there's been a lot of positive reaction to that, Alberto.
Yeah, certainly. I think that everybody knew already that we were doing the Formula 186. We already presented that mod some weeks ago, but there's also the USAC. We haven't forgotten our great USAC cars, and we will be doing again Indy, not just Indy, but the Triple Crown next year, and I'm really looking forward to that. But also as well to the Deutsche Rennsportmeisterschaft, because that's a championship that I absolutely love. I mean, being able to drive my beloved BMW M1 in the lower class, or those beautiful mythical Group C cars, it's going to be very challenging with a mix of those Mickey Mouse tracks, the small ones like Diepholz or Norris Ring, combined with the long distance races in the big known track like Mugello, Brands Hatch, and the like.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun. I'm obviously looking forward to USAC next year, but also I really am looking forward to broadcasting F1 1986 with you. A lot of very interesting tracks, including a visit to my hometown.
Certainly.
Yes, so yeah, it should be really cool. And yes, the sports car series definitely that'll be. And you're right about the mix of circuits. It'll be really fun and different. You're looking forward to this, I'm sure, too, Jonatan.
Oh, for sure. I'm especially looking forward to testing out the F186s because of the 91 series. I've actually, stayed off trying them out at all. Just concentrated on doing F191, and for sure it'll be very interesting to see what the Group C cars has to offer, and very much looking forward to broadcasting the 78 USAC series. That should be a whole heap of fun, with most likely a lot of action.
All right, well, while we're watching KO McKeels here in the warm-up session, we're going to pause for a commercial break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Don't go away.
A company can learn a lot in 125 years. Valvoline has. You learn in the lab, you learn on the road, you learn on the racetrack. As you learn, you make your product better. And better, and better. Today's Valvoline will keep your engine cleaner than ever before. And cleaner means more protection against engine wear. 125 years of quality. That's why people who know use Valvoline.
What do you call a car that out-accelerates a Ferrari Testarossa or a Lotus Esprit? Out-corners a Porsche Carrera. Has been called the affordable Ferrari by Motor Trend and was named one of the world's top 10 performance car values. You call it the Dodge Stealth RT Turbo. Now choose from 4 Stealth models starting at $16,552. Welcome home, America. Advantage Dodge.
For some people, the best thing about the morning is that it's over by the afternoon. So the Braun shaver is quiet to soothe the soul. It's curved to comfortably fit the face, with 3 shaving positions to cut, groom, and trim with superb results. Braun, a state-of-the-art shaver that could improve your state of mind. The world's #1 selling foil shaver.
Hello?
Hi, Sam. Listen, I really need to go.
Listen, can you hold on for a second? Some things are simply too good to be interrupted. The Legend Sedan from Acura.
Hello. Sam, are you there? Sam?
Thanks to special lease rates, getting into a Legend Coupe or Legend Sedan has never been easier.
Cos'è questa cosa qua? Mi sembra una cosa veramente strana.
It's a hot new 35mm camera from Canon.
It's just a camera.
Sembra sospetto.
The Canon Photora.
Camera.
With futuristic flash, automatic one-hand control, and long-range power zoom lens. Photora.
You have to come with us.
It's just a camera.
Please.
The new Photora from Canon. So advanced, it's simple.
Free lifetime service at Oil Changer.
The best chassis lube oil and filter change for the money just got better.
All regular full-service Oil Changer customers get all the services you see for free.
Anytime you want, as often as you want.
Oil Changer. Free service for a change.
Power Stick Antiperspirant. It excels with 50% more odor and wetness fibers per stroke for 24-hour control that ordinary deodorant sticks just can't beat. Power Stick, the power that puts you in control.
I'll be there in a half an hour. Let me think about it.
The most important safety feature in any car is the driver. That's why we've given the Mazda 929S luxury sedan a patented rear suspension and the security of anti-lock brakes for a driving experience so relaxing It lets you make those split-second decisions every luxury car driver needs to make.
I've thought about it. Let's order pizza.
The Mazda 929S.
It just feels right.
With the highest resale value in its class and proven Honda reliability, the Accord truly is a safe place to put your money.
And we are back. So we were talking earlier, Alberto, about the controversial things that have happened at Suzuka in the past. Any comments on the Prost-Senna feuds that have happened on this circuit?
Well, the Prost-Senna feud could have happened anywhere else, to be honest.
True,
It's
that's
just
true.
Suzuka, because of the position late in the championship, is many times a championship deciding track. And that's what has made things here very hairy in the past, obviously. But yeah, I mean, even Senna admitted years later that he had taken out Prost completely intentionally, so...
Yeah, it's amazing the single-mindedness that can take over when you want to win, in the face of all logic sometimes. But in any case, we don't have very long to go until we start the race here. 8 minutes, in fact, from now until the start. So Miller, we were talking to him earlier before we went live, and obviously Pascal's withdrawal changes the equation slightly, but he still has a job to do. If you're Dave Miller, how would you approach this race?
Well, at any rate, I would try to finish the race.
Yes.
Because the thing is, if he doesn't finish any of the remaining races, Pascal will still be the champion, Johan Rindt, even if not taking part on it. So it's quite interesting, because it's going to be mentally very tolling for Miller. I'm pretty sure of that. Because at this point it's your championship to lose, and then again you don't have anything to use as a reference, because if Pascal was on the track, then you could say, okay, I need to be in front of him, and I need to be so and so many places behind and all that, but that's not the case now, and it's going to be mentally very tiresome, because he needs to score some points, but he also needs to keep the concentration and be able to finish. When being overtaken by people, it's so easy to say, no, I'm not going to put up a fight. But then you lose the concentration on your rhythm while driving. And on the other hand, you don't just lose the concentration. It could very well happen that you are suddenly lower in the pecking order than you would at first think. So I wouldn't really be in his place right now. It's not going to be easy for him, that's for sure.
Well, and as we've seen in the previous race, all of the hard work that you're doing can be wiped off the map through a misunderstanding with a back marker, or just something that's beyond your control, or just or a poor decision taken by somebody, you or somebody else. So it's anything can happen.
And these two tracks, Suzuka and Adelaide, they are exactly tracks because in Suzuka, because of the high speed but very narrow nature of the track, and Adelaide because it's a street circuit. Those are tracks where anything can happen in that regard, and it's going to be very nasty, any misunderstanding with another driver. And you can bet, as we have seen in previous races, that everybody in the field knows that Dave Miller can't risk it, so they will be attacking him absolutely, because they know it's a car that can overtake. He's not going to put a fight.
We're riding on board right here with Brian Janik, and you can see how narrow the track is. He's trying to find a way around Steve Parker, and even with Steve making room for him, it's a bit of a challenge coming into this spoon curve section.
Yeah, it's very narrow, like we said, and very quick. And the thing is, with these high-speed corners, if you miss even by a foot the turning entry point, you are off the turn. So you need to be very careful here, because if you're steering to the car in front and you miss the turning point, you can very easily lose the car completely and go out. So drivers need to keep the concentration here, and this is going to be a very long race.
In a way, this track really does. It's very appropriately Japanese in the way it feels. It's very much about hitting your marks precisely. It's a track that rewards precision and hard work and persistence. I mean, those are all traits that in Japan are
very
highly
challenging. The
yeah.
Japanese always love a neat fight, and they are always up for the challenges. It's
All right,
something
well,
cultural.
Well, Jonatan, I hope you have your mute button handy for us so that you don't have to hear us blabbering on while you're driving.
I was hoping if David and Anderson, well, whatever those two are, if you could pull me down there, I'd be very happy for the race.
Okay, well, I'll do that. Then good luck to you, Jonatan, in your new drive. Hopefully it'll go well for you.
Thank you very much.
And maybe we can talk to you on the other side of the race, okay?
Certainly. Best of luck with the broadcast. Hope you all enjoy.
Yep, thanks. That was Jonatan Acerclinth, broadcaster of the USAC races and a very good racer in his own right. All right, before we go to the race session, we should mention the trivia question. The trivia question is, for this race, the best result for a Japanese driver on home soil, which is third place, is jointly held by Kamui Kobayashi and which other driver? Is it A, Ukio Katayama, B, Agiri Suzuki, or C, Satoru Nakajima? We'll have the answer later in the broadcast. All right, so who's your pick for this race, Alberto?
This time it's going to be very complicated. I'm going to say Anders Nilsson, just because he is in a top car, because this is a challenging track, and that I think he was too confident in the previous races and he made some errors, thinking probably that he could get away with it in that car. But now the experience should be good enough after 3 races in that car to allow him to bring it home. So I would say, yeah, Anders.
I am going to say Brian Janik. And of course I'm biased because he and I come from the same Midwest city, but I don't know. He's been close on many occasions, and something tells me that his technical knowledge is going to really pay off here. We'll see how things progress.
Yeah, Brian would also have been a very sensible pick for me. The only issue is that it seems that the Minardi is not so much on the pace here, but we'll see.
All right, 2 minutes to go, roughly. And of course, next week that you and I are going to be teamies at Trenton for 2 races. I've been doing some testing there, and I got to say, with the updates that we've had on the physics, it's tricky. It's
it's very tricky.
It's very tricky, and it's going to
got so much power, and you don't really know what to do with it.
It's going to be a very. It feels like a ballet. A lot of the time, it's a real balance is incredibly important. I think it's going to really test everybody's skills. Should be really fun.
Throttle restraint is also paramount.
Looks like people on the YouTube chat have got a fair idea of what the answer to the trivia question is. So we'll revisit that later. But doing the trivia questions is fun. I enjoy researching those and coming up with something.
We will need to up the game, though, because everybody seems to be guessing them too easily lately.
Yeah. Well, I'll see if I can come up with something really unusual for Adelaide. All right. 45 seconds. I don't think we have a full 26-car grid here, so we'll just have to watch and make sure that we don't have a situation where someone gets kicked out right before we go to the race session. I'm actually really glad that we're holding the race today and not like say yesterday or the day before, because there was a lot of internet traffic yesterday for one particular event in world importance. So today, hopefully, we won't have internet traffic issues. So, but all right, we're looking at zeros on the clock. And we're going to transfer to the race session for the Fuji Television Japanese Grand Prix. We're glad to have you with us for the penultimate round of this 1991 championship. All right, here it comes. Wait for that siren. There it is. All right, 53 laps are on the board, or 2 hours, whichever comes first. For the
How many points does Dave Miller need to score here to become champion?
Well, he's got, even if he wins, looking at the point standings right now, because he's 5 points behind, he can't technically win the championship here. Because even if he scored 10 points, that would give him 68. And he'd be 5 points in front. Mathematically, Pascal could show up at Adelaide and still win the championship.
All right.
By doing something. So by scoring. So we really can't give him the championship until it's clear whether Pascal's going to be there or not. I mean, truth is stranger than fiction. I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly he comes along and wants to get back into the race, but you never know. It would be wrong of us to hand him the championship without, when that still hangs in the balance. Would you agree?
It would. We will see what happens, but if for whatever reason Dave doesn't finish here, it wouldn't surprise me much to see Pascal returning for Adelaide.
Well, we'll see. All right, on the pole for the Japanese Grand Prix is Dave Miller, driving the Williams-Renault FW14. Sorry, I got to go back to the... there we go. Second, Anders Nilsson, Benetton Ford B191. Third, Ray Radal in his first outing for Honda McLaren. So that's a good sign for him that he's able to get control of the car that quickly. Fourth on the grid, David Jakes in a Delara Judd D191. Fifth is Little Al in the other McLaren Honda. So McLarens are looking good here. The Honda people will be happy to see that on their home track. Brian Janik is sixth in the Minardi Ferrari. Seventh, Jonatan Acerclinth, driving the Delara Judd. Hopefully he'll come to terms with that car as well. Eighth, Tim Hilla in a Jordan Ford J191. And the second Jordan right behind it, Gabriel Del Piccolo in ninth. 10th, Mike Olson in the Ferrari 643. 11th is Grant Radal in the Lotus Judd 102B. 12th, Adam Hackman in his Benetton. 13th, David Saber in the Ferrari 643. 14th, John Team in the LaRousse Ford LC91. And in the second LC91 is Juha Boss in 15th. 16th, Bruno Chacon in the other Williams-Renault. 17th, Cale McKeels, Ligier Lamborghini. 18th, Tomas Matusek, Brabham Yamaha, BT60Y. 19th, Steve Parker in the other Lotus. 20th is Thiago Canola in his Leighton House. 21st, Michael Drexler making an appearance in the Fonmetal Ford. 22nd, Simon Watman. 23rd, Jules Bouchard. Final car on the grid. So the cars are coming around now. And you can see Dave very much scrubbing in those tires. Well, a lot of people actually trying to get heat in. And as you said, this is going to be a tire eater, this race. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. Would you anticipate one stop, Alberto?
It should be one stop, I believe, because everybody will be putting hard enough tires so as to not need to do two stops. But you never know. Someone could try to go for softer tires if he thinks that it pays off. But honestly, I'm expecting one stop only.
All right, so another thing that just occurred to me as they're lining up for the grid now is that because this is downhill, it's going to be a very challenging start to not have the car roll too much.
To keep your foot on the brake pedal until the last moment and then give it a go. So yeah, it's going to be complicated. Now let's see, because the grid is very, very spread out. Let's see if they come quickly here and we don't have any barbecue.
Cars are pulling into their grid slots now. You can see them there.
Whoa, there are 2 cars in the pit lane.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why.
That's Gabriele Del Piccolo. And that's the other Dallara?
Okay, that's really strange.
No,
I
it's
don't know
Mike
what...
Olson.
That's
Without
weird.
front wing.
Oh, people have had issues. All right, we're going to the green light now. Stand by for the start of the Japanese Grand Prix. And the race is underway! Dave Miller peels away, but look at Ray Ridal coming up in the inside in the McLaren Honda. Could we possibly have... Oh my goodness, it's like a recreation of... Oh no, Dave Miller goes off the track! No! Miller's off the track! Unbelievable! Miller has gone straight on into the gravel. I cannot believe what I just saw. Now the car still is moving, but he's lost his front and rear wing. I don't know what that means for the suspension. What in the world happened there, Alberto?
The nerves. The nerves on the start. He's without both wings. He's going to make a long way back home. But the only good news is that the steering wheel doesn't seem to be bent, as far as I can tell. So that could mean no suspension damage, and in that case, he could be able to get new wings and try to, well, make something out of the disgrace that just happened. So Gabriele Del Piccolo and Mick Olson are coming now out of the pits, also joining the race.
It's amazing. We're watching the replay, and Dave just ran straight off into the gravel. It's like the car just didn't turn.
Yeah,
it's cold tires.
They had been sitting for too long in the grid there.
Unbelievable. I mean, this just shows you anything can happen.
Yeah, David Jacks also pushed Little Al a bit out in the gravel, and I'm sure it was not intentional. It was just that everybody had cold tires.
Ray Ridal leads in the Ayrton Senna McLaren Honda.
Ridal making a move with that Lotus on the Minardi.
Here they come down to the chicane. Oh, goodness. We have a Ferrari going all kittywampus. It looks like it is Dave. Oh, my goodness. There's a bunch of cars all over the place. Going into the chicane. Look out, John Team. Bruno Chacon. My goodness. It's a demolition derby down here by the chicane. John Team looks like he's lost a wheel, so he's probably out of the race. My goodness. So,
yeah,
high drama. Okay, here comes Miller. Miller looks like he's finally getting to the pits, and by the way he's driving, it looks as if, you know, from his point of view, hopefully he won't have suspension damage. But he's going to be...
now entering the pits, limping into there, hitting a bit the wall. Yeah, that car is very unstable. Let's see, but if there is suspension damage, that's going to be a killer. Pit stop seems to be going to be a very long one for Dave Miller with the repairs. Gabriele Del Piccolo has quit, so it seems that the car, for whatever reason, was completely damaged. And Ray Ridal still in the lead.
Riding on board now with David Jakes in third place as he stalks Anders Nilsson. This ought to be an interesting battle here between Jakes, who's currently third in the championship, and Nilsson, who's come on very strong lately. They're keeping pace with Ridal. Ridal's opened up a bit of a cushion, but they're staying... Oh, my goodness! Jakes just had a huge moment exiting the spoon curve.
Those curbs.
Yeah, whoa. And look who's right behind him. Little Al in the other McLaren. Yeah, the cars are really going to be putting the tires to the test through that left-hander into the chicane once again. You can see how awkward that thing is for everybody. And I think that was the case for a lot of the drivers who came down there and were engaged in that Benny Hill music situation there. I think it was more a situation of cold tires trying to bring the car to a stop and cold brakes. So yeah, these three are basically sandwiched together here. And of course that plays right into Ray Radal's hands, because you can see how much he's pulling away so far, because these guys are battling back here. Jake's definitely trying to set up Anders in one of these corners here. But as you pointed out, Alberto, this is a very tricky place to overtake on.
Well, Grant has already made it past Brian Jennings, so I told you that our highest quality drivers will
Oh,
be
yes!
Oh,
and here comes Brian back. Brian going, oh, look out, look out! Brian trying to hold him on the outside. Grant comes back on the inside at the hairpin, and there's Jonatan with a great view of the action. He might be able to capitalize.
Not many people are around with whom you can dance like that.
Oh, look at that! Down the inside. Oh, they're running wide onto the tarmac, but thankfully there's enough room there, and look at that! Jonatan, right there on the doorstep, ready to capitalize if something goes wrong. Look at, he's got a good head of steam coming down the hill here. God.
Someone should tell these folks that there are still 50 laps.
I know. Grant clips the dirt just a little bit, runs off. Oh, no, look out. And now Jonatan is going to try to take advantage, but he can't get there in time. Downshifting for the chicane once again. And if you look, I believe that's Juha boss back there getting pretty close as well. So this is an exciting battle. So, in a way, I mean, it's kind of odd because the championship battle is essentially frozen until the next race. So we're basically watching a one-off battle here. But lots of action so far, Alberto. Fun to watch.
Fun to watch, and you can't help thinking if Pascal was here and was about to score points, well, championship would be fully open.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say,
because if the same thing happens to Miller in Adelaide, then it's over.
I know.
And the pressure is now going to be higher than ever.
Thomas Hardy once said, "Well, much is too strange to be believed. Nothing is too strange to have happened."
Yep.
And in this year of 2020, we certainly know that, don't we? Nilsson looks like he's closing up a little bit more now on Radal because he's got some space.
It seems that Mike Olson had to finally retire that Ferrari after that initial damage.
We are joined in the booth now by Dave Miller. My goodness, Dave, very sorry about what happened on the opening lap there. It looked as if it was just a situation of cold tires going into the first turn. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yeah, I'd say so. I went to turn into turn one and, well, the car just didn't want to respond. And then, unfortunately, when I got to the pit lane, probably a switchology error on my part. The crew only changed the tyres, and after much sucking of teeth and saying, that's going to cost you.
Sorry to interrupt you.
What?
Watman is in the barriers. He just crashed the car.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that Coloni can't be the easiest car to drive. Yes, it looks like his power just that's interesting. A Coloni accident that's caused by an over-application of power. Yeah, he just back and just came around on him there. Too bad. Well, in any case, Grant, you've got Adelaide, the final round, to make one more push for the championship. So all is not lost. But goodness, this is probably one of these instances where you just want to forget about this and move on to something else.
Well, it could be worse. At least we've still got one more race to try and close this all up. So hopefully we can keep some kind of excitement to the end.
All right. Well,
for sure, if you win the championship there, it will be very well deserved because you have now a bit of a mountain to climb. You need to be, if I'm not wrong, you need to be second to get 6 points. No, third to get 6 points in Adelaide, right?
Second, yeah, because I believe I'm 5 points adrift of Pascal, so need 6 points minimum to seal it.
So you would need to finish second at least.
Yeah.
So, well, we really appreciate your time, Dave. Do you want us to deposit you back in the default channel, or?
Yes, please. And unless you want me to stick around here for longer, I don't mind either way.
All right. Well, if you want to stick around, you're welcome to. looks like a good battle is shaping up here between Ray and Anders Nilsson. For a while, Nilsson was being harried by David Jakes, but now it seemed to shake him off just a little bit, and that's helped him to close in. It's funny how throughout the whole series, we have never seen a McLaren Honda in a real position to win. I mean, granted, Juha had several decent drives in these cars, but he's openly admitted that the car was not truly to his liking in terms of how violent the power came on and just the handling characteristics. But here we have Ray making his debut in the Marlboro-colored McLaren Honda, and he's certainly making the most of it. Oh my goodness! Speaking of which, there's his teammate running off briefly, but thankfully not impacting anything. And you can see that Anders and Dave Jakes are closing in here. David Jakes looks like he wants to challenge Nilsson for second, but can't quite get alongside.
Yeah, Anders is starting to getting impatient here behind Rai because he probably isn't sure about Rai's strategy. It's the first time that we see that McLaren there in front, as you said. So I think that Anders has a book on David Jakes and probably had a book also on Miller and other people, but he doesn't have any idea of what Rai Riddle is up to. It could be that he's going to stop and lose any advantage later, or it could be that he's going to fly away into the horizon. So Anders is probably trying to overtake as soon as he can so that he can bottleneck there right behind him, because that's the best way to kill someone's strategy. Not let him play in his own rhythm.
David Jakes is looking like he might try and overtake there. He slips out. No, there's just not enough room by the time they get to the first turn.
That's the problem with that turn. We've already talked about it before. It's a very quick turn. It's not that you can outbrake anybody there, because it's just tapping on the brakes and going very quickly into these S's.
Yeah, these S's, man, it's especially when you get up here to this one right here, heading back to the left. That one is very much off camber. And if you get that wrong, you're in big trouble.
I think from the driving point of view, when you're driving your car here alone in the in the training or the warm-up or whatever, you really go like, oh, beautiful. I mean, it's about what everybody loves about driving. I mean, throw the car here, throw it there, high speed, high G-forces and all that. But then when you're doing it in the race behind another car that is putting dirtier on you and you're unable to pass, then it's suddenly what was heaven becomes hell.
Well, on top of that, you've got the tyres, because even on your own, the front tyres get very hot through the S's. Yep. So when you're in the dirty air, it's going to be even worse.
Yeah, I would imagine that the dirty air is definitely a problem if you're following a car into this left-hander that's coming up. Would you say so, Dave?
Absolutely.
There goes Anders.
Scary enough.
Oh, there we go. We have a pass for the lead. There it is.
Very brave there before the king, but this isn't over yet.
No. Look at this. Here comes Jakes trying to capitalize, but he can't do it. Nilsson goes.
Opted for decided to go defensive against David Jakes.
Nilsson goes into the lead. It is Benetton Ford. Riddle drops a second, but
Honda power is going to show us something.
Yeah, Honda horsepower here going into the first turn. Here comes.
Double on the overtake.
Oh my goodness, fantastic. Very well done using the Honda horsepower. Ray Riddle goes back in front. I almost said Juha boss.
Also did the same on David Jakes at the same time.
Oh, he did?
He tried. Overtake.
It's right, we missed it. Let's look at the replay. We missed that overtake while we were watching. And look at that. David had a defensive posture in the background, but it didn't matter. Little Al still overhauled him by the time they got to the first turn. So,
really likely like 50 horsepower difference there between the Honda and the engine in the Dallara.
In the Judd, yeah. I gotta say, Little Al has really found his rhythm in this car. It took him a while to get there, but he's driving really well. Jake's having another look. Looks like Little Al may have set his car up more for speed than for grip in these turns. And Jake certainly has the measure on him, it looks like, in some of these slower corners.
Little Al didn't have a lot of time this week to prepare because he's, well, with exams and many other things. But the thing he did was just prepare the race. He didn't prepare for qualifying. For qualifying, he just put the quali tires and removed fuel from the tank. That gave him a good position, but he has a good race setup and he has been preparing all the time with the fuel for the race. So
look at Anders.
I think he will have good freedom.
This is not over yet. Anders is right there with But now Little Al looks like he's closing in. But of course, then there's also David. So this is an intriguing battle, not just in terms of the talent behind the wheel, but the drivers who are, but the engines as well. Because you can see here, Little Al is really benefiting from that Honda horsepower. Jakes goes down the inside, but he just doesn't have enough juice to get by. That's pure horsepower. Oh no! Oh,
he was so close trying to hang on there that he went completely without downforce on the front.
Yeah, let's look at this again. This is a great example of aero washout. He pops out, goes for the turn, and look at how much it wants to push out to the left, and he just barely saves it. He was very lucky to have that green tarmac on the outside there. And that's going to buy Little Al a little bit of time. We'll see if he can reel Nilsson back in. Let's take a look further back in the field, see what's going on.
Quickly, Jace caught up.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It seems that if he's able to run by himself, he's very much quicker than the cars in front. It's just that he doesn't have the legs to overtake.
The rest of the cars in the field are pretty well spread out. Most of the action is actually right up front so far. Ray Riddall continues to lead. Anders Nilsson. Oh no! Ray's back in front again! Alright, let's do a replay. How did this happen? Goodness, that didn't take long. Did it happen at the end of the straight? It's looking like it did. Probably did, but I just want to make sure that I have my facts straight.
And Jakes nearly spun it there coming out of the chicane, trying to outdrag Little Al. Yeah, it must be very frustrating to be there with a car that has such a power deficit compared with the car in front.
Maybe it was an incident that happened at the chicane, because, or he managed to overtake him as they got to the chicane, because no, this goes further back. I don't know.
Nice battle also between Jonatan Acerclinth and Ray Riddall now. Jonatan about to overtake.
Oh! Jonatan down the inside. Oh my goodness, very close. But Jonatan squeaks by into 7th place. Big shock. That's where Jonatan always loves to be. Here we go. But Grant coming back doing some races now with Lotus. This is an interesting combination. Not the easiest car to drive, but Grant's talents are obviously there for all to see.
Yeah, look at Nilsson there, eyeing to the inside, but they are coming now to traffic, so let's see
interesting.
How this pans out.
Yeah, we have a car just ahead here in front of Ray. I don't think... Oh, it's Michael Drexler. I don't think this... Well, he's going to get to him probably at the most convenient place, actually, now that I think about it, the chicane. And Michael's probably going to make lots and lots of room. Well, if not here, then on the exit. All right. Oh, no. Whoa. Look out. And Nilsson sees a huge opportunity. So does Little Al. Oh, my goodness. This could be anyone's first corner. Nilsson pops out into the first turn, takes the lead. Ray is forced back into 2nd place. Little Al is 3rd. Jake's 4th. My goodness.
Amazing by Anders Nilsson. Who would have thought at the beginning of that corner that he would come out in the lead? And if these 4 continue at this rate, they will be total by the end of the race.
Well, I wonder how much their tire wear is right now, and how much more it is simply because of the fierce nature of how they're driving. Now, we'll see if Ray can counterattack using the Honda horsepower as he's done in previous laps. We're working lap number 11, 10 laps complete in the Japanese Grand Prix. And a very symmetrical looking 2nd and 3rd there between your son, Little Al, and Ray Riddall. I think Jakes might be being the smart one here and just kind of hanging back and letting these guys duke it out.
I feel a bit like Bobby Answer commentating in the 90s.
Oh, on Little Al? Yeah.
With his relative there in the field.
Paul, I talked to Little Al before the race, and he says that the car's running really good. Yeah, Little Al, apparently there are no team orders coming from Ron Dennis because
Whoa,
he's
Nilsson botched there.
Oh, he did, yeah. He did, and here's Radal trying to capitalize on a botched chicane. Tomas Matusek on the inside, but apparently knows what's going on, is going to get out of the way. Look at Ray dart out to the inside. Honda horsepower down the inside takes the lead again going into the first turn. What great action and precision from these two drivers.
Yeah, very complicated to overtake, and Nilsson was very savvy there, avoiding getting the arrow wash out and making it properly into the corner.
So Radal back in front again. We'll see if Nilsson can counterattack. I mean, that was a very graphic example there of how much you have to be focusing at all times, and how one small mistake on this course can be a big problem. Dave, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so bad and 10 being incredibly annoying, how awkward would you rate that last turn, that chicane?
I'd rate it at about a 12.5.
I knew it, yeah. It just looks painfully awkward.
It is. It's very slow. These cars are very low to the ground, so you really can't attack the curbs anywhere like as much as you want to. And then you've got to try and somehow get 700 odd horsepower down without overcooking your rear tyres.
Asking your crush to dance at homecoming looks less awkward than that turn to me. Yeah, Nilsson, give him credit, he's staying right there with him, but look at Little Al, he's pulling in too. Yeah, the cars really do bottleneck here, and it really comes down to how well you nail that. If you do it wrong, it can cost you a lot of time.
It's weird because Miller just hit the point there, because when coming out of that chicane, one of the problems that you have, especially if you've got one of the most powerful engines, is not melting your rear wheels there. And the reason why we see Little Al and Ray Riddle coming out of the chicane not so quickly as Jake's, for example, is because they have so much power to their avail. They need to be very sensitive there with the throttle, whereas David Jakes can hammer it much more. So it's one of those ironies where having too much power is not a blessing here.
Certainly with the Williams, I was struggling to get the power down. Indeed, I was having to hold it about half throttle for a good few hundred yards after leaving the chicane.
Looks like Jonatan has solidified his 7th place. Yeah, he's there's quite a distance here, but Juha is now coming under attack from Adam Hackman, who was having a very good race in I think it was Portugal or Spain. He had a really good result there, and he hasn't had many good results this year so far.
Little Al's just had a moment at the hairpin and has got David Jakes alongside him.
Oh boy! Indeed, thank you for that, David.
There you go, Jakes.
Yep, Jakes goes up into 3rd place. Let's have a look at a replay. Yeah, that hairpin, you have that awkward situation of having just exited that left hand. And yeah, it's a total case of oversteer on entry, and Jakes just slips by. But good job by both drivers to avoid disaster there.
Oh. Nearly lost it there in the curb. I'd wash out.
God, it's a choo-choo train of with these guys coming to the chicane.
I think Little Al has, right now the tires are very warm, very hot. So he needs to cool them down.
Here comes Anders down the inside, and he takes the lead once again. I think this is the most lead changes we've seen all season. And we're not even a quarter of the way into the race, really. Well, maybe a quarter distance, but goodness, I don't think I've seen this many. I haven't seen this many overtakes for the lead in a while. They're coming up now, I believe, to Jules Bouchard in the Leighton house. Yeah. There should be a good opportunity here to get by him, because you got a couple of left-handers, and ideally probably the hairpins where they're going to try to get by. And there's Jules making room on the outside for Anders. Oh, that gives Anders a bit of a breather there because it's going to take the others a little bit longer to get around him. Well, all three of them are clear now, but that certainly benefited Anders, this just arriving at Jules when he did.
Very tricky to overtake there, with the cars leaning so heavily on that hide and force corner.
Yeah, Jakes is definitely underpowered compared to what Radal has in the back of his car. But if there's anybody who can make the maximum out of that Judd engine, it would be Jakes. Into the chicane once again. And Jakes is right with him now. At best, he's going to be able to hang with Radal down this straight. But that Honda power, he's not going to be able to do much else with.
I have a feeling that Jakes is running a slightly lower downforce setup with that car to compensate on the straights.
I'm sure he is. And he's a guy who's used to driving a car on the limit a lot of the time. So if the car steps out a bit more, then I would expect that he'd be able to handle it. Other people, they'd probably get skittish about it, but I remember him driving in the other league when we were driving another version of this mod, and he was driving the Jordan, and the car was all over the place a lot of the time, and he was able to hold on to it. So his driving skill would probably make it possible for him to trim the car out more and get more speed out of it. Other people who would be less comfortable in that situation wouldn't be able to do it.
Whatever the case, he will be having nightmares today with Honda engines.
Yeah, he's gonna have those red and white cars on the back of his eyelids when his head hits the pillow,
and a V12 ringing in his ears.
Yeah, he's gonna have tinnitus as well. More lapped cars. That was K.O. Michiels in the Ligier Lamborghini. I've been watching K.O.'s channel. He's racing in another league called OAO, I believe, and he's been running a lot of Grand Prix Legends stuff, and he does a good job at broadcasting that stuff. If any of you have the time to check out his channel, do it, because he has a camera on his foot pedal box. You can see him driving and everything, and the coverage is pretty good. It's interesting.
He does broadcast while driving?
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh. He doesn't say much, but you can see him and see his hand movements and everything. It's interesting. Because those Grand Prix Legends cars are very animated, shall we say. Move around a lot. They don't have the aid of aerodynamics. It's all mechanical grip or lack thereof. So Nilsson continuing to lead here. Now, I really wonder, because you got to remember, Nilsson is running Pirelli tires, and we've got Goodyears on the McLarens. I don't know how much that's going to play into this, but certainly the hardness with which everybody's been driving is definitely going to determine when they're going to come into the pits. Thankfully, because the fuel load will be less in the second stint, they can probably go longer on a set of tires for the second stint.
Yeah, with 15 laps already under our belt, it's clear that everybody's going for a single pit stop. Otherwise, they would probably be already stopping.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been a really great race so far. A lot of fantastic action, and it makes me excited, Alberto, about 2021 with the kind of talent that we have here at ISO.
And we will definitely be able to tell what compound the people are on, at least by looking at the sidewalls.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're just playing a guessing game.
Do you think that, well, we can ask Dave. Dave, in setting up your car for the race and picking tire compounds, did you use different compounds front to back?
Yes, I did. I was running hards on the front and mediums on the rear. It's been something I've been doing pretty much all season with the Williams because of the amount of load it puts through the front tyres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same combination for the Little Al in the McLaren.
Yeah, I think even when I was doing that one race at Hockenheim in the Modena, I found that kind of a combination was best as well.
It generally works very well. You've just got to be careful on
the
first few corners, especially from the front of the car.
Jakes might have a shot here. coming very close. Oh, man. Ray runs wide. This is Jake's opportunity. He's going to be on the outside as they come to the chicane. And he's around him. Jake's up into second place.
So you can say that his patient driving is always being rewarded.
Yeah.
He played the same with Little Al and also with Brad Riddle. It's the second McLaren that he tricks into a driving error.
While we have Miller here, do you have any comments about the 2021 season that we revealed for ISO recently?
I absolutely cannot wait. That looks fantastic. We've got Turbo Monster Formula One cars, which are awesome. Group C cars, which are awesome. And Indy cars as well, which are also awesome. So I absolutely cannot wait to get stuck into them.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, about the IndyCar series, for the first time, we're doing USAC cars on road courses.
I'm definitely looking forward to the Brands Hatch and Silverstone races.
Most sport will be pretty interesting, too.
Well, I can tell you because I'm doing part of the developing job of the physics, and I've been trying the cars and all that. That if you thought that driving those things in Phoenix was like playing with a jet fighter in a basketball field, then wait and see what happens when you drive them in Brands Hatch.
Oh, I can only imagine, because they do look, if you've ever watched the CBS footage from Brands Hatch in 78, it just looks incredible. The cars are on the brink of control.
Yeah,
they're just on the
sideways. I mean, it's too much power. And remember, these Indy cars, many people don't realize that the Indy cars of that era still had the 4 gears in the gearbox, even in the road courses.
Yeah.
So what that means is that you need widespread gears to be able to cover all the speeds that you are going. You effectively use first gear as a second in the hairpins or whatever, because you're missing a gear. And then you have a handful of power coming out of the corners.
We're riding on board right now with a guy who's kind of gone unnoticed so far, Tim Hilla. He's running in 5th, and that's a welcome sign for him because he's had a couple of very short races recently in that Jordan. He was out of the race with a blown engine, I think, at Spain, and I don't think he had a very good result at Portugal either. So I'm sure he's very happy to be in the points, although there's a long way to go.
Yeah, he already did something quite remarkable by out-qualifying his teammate, Gabriele, because we all know how quick Gabriele is. So I think in that regard, he's doing a great job with the Jordan. He's adapting very well to it, and yeah, looking forward to him getting some points today. Oh, and Bruno Chicano slowing down. What's going on here? Is he letting the leaders? Okay, yes, he was letting the leaders by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likely that was what was going on. So Jake's trying to solidify his second place. Looks like he's pulling out a little bit of a gap on Ray.
Yeah, Nilsson himself has pulled a big gap already.
Yeah.
Now that he's undisturbed and nobody's trying to overtake him and he doesn't have to defend or attack a slower car in front, we're seeing the true nature of his pace.
Coming down to the hairpin now. Yeah, I wonder how much tire wear is starting to play into the driving here. I'm sure that it's getting increasingly harder with each lap to haul these things to a stop by the chicane.
Certainly in my own testing, by about 20 laps, the car was starting to get very slippery.
Yeah, so, and we're at 20 laps right now, so we'll see what happens if it starts to get more difficult for everybody. The other thing to keep in mind, of course, is that it's going to end up who chooses to pit at the right time and how much that impacts your in-lap and out-lap. We may find that the McLarens take a strategy that could overlap Jakes and Nilsson, or vice versa. Who knows?
I'm not sure what tire combination did Rai have, but it seems that Little is now going a bit quicker than him. So it could be that he was on softs on the rear, because that was very tempting. I know when I helped Little a bit with the setup, and maybe starting to pay a price for it. He will be very quick when they cool down, but he's going to suffer a lot as soon as they overheat.
Another lapped car coming up here, I believe. Or is that Jake's? No, sorry, that's Jake's.
Nilsson is about to lap Michael Drexler.
Mm-hmm. And Drexler caused a bit of a awkward moment earlier, which nearly cost Nilsson Ray Riddall the lead. But
yeah, that's the problem when you're not Houdini and you cannot disappear.
Yeah, it's true. You can't. There's a solid car there. Drexler moved. Okay, well that worked out really well. He saw Anders coming, and the exit of the spoon was a very, very advantageous place. And he's driving that newer Fond Metal, currently running 17th, 2 laps down.
And it looks that we are bound for a McLaren duel now.
Jakes is able to get by as well before they go into the chicane. And here come the McLaren duo. Oh my goodness, it looks like there might have been a little contact there between Little Al and Ray. Obviously not intended, but you're coming down for that chicane, and if you misjudge your braking, I suppose that's easier to do than you'd probably like.
Well seen there by Michael Drexler. He was about to move back into his lane, but he saw them coming.
Yep. So good heads-up driving from him. Looking further back in the field, Juha Boss is currently running in 9th place, and he's got Adam Hackman directly behind him, followed by Grant Riddall. So we got a 3-car battle here, which could heat up in a second. Looking from the cockpit of Grant Riddall with that red steering wheel in the Lotus. Looking just ahead to Hackman and Boss. Let's see what happens when Grant goes through this turn. That's pretty good. He lifted a little bit going through there, but looks like the Lotus is handling pretty good for him. Oh my goodness, lots of smoke here. Looks like Hackman kind of botched that turn. He did, and he slips back. So Grant goes into 10th place. Taking advantage of other people's problems is part of how you do well here at Suzuka. And there was a graphic example of that. So Grant's up to 10th now, and he's setting his sights on Juha in the LaRousse. Well, do we want to do the trivia question, maybe? Or let's wait.
Half a race, so
well,
why not?
All right, fine.
Usually doing the trivia question has been the best way to trigger some action on the track.
It's true, yes. Yeah.
Drexler in the pits now. I suppose that's a scheduled pit stop.
Yep. All right, so the trivia question is, the best result for a Japanese driver on home soil has been 3rd place, and it's jointly held by Kamui Kobayashi and which other driver? Is it A, Yukio Katayama, B, Agiri Suzuki, or C, Satoru Nakajima?
I'd guess Nakajima.
I'll go with...
All right, time is up. What are you guys going to go with?
I'll go with Suzuki.
That is correct. Agiri Suzuki, and that means another wrong for Alberto. You chose Nakajima. You were probably,
to be honest, they all sound the same to me.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone, and we're gonna go back to the action. And Juha runs onto the dirt there for a minute, so it looks like Grant may have a shot here eventually. Looks like his car is a little less stressful to drive than maybe... I don't know how that LaRousse behaves, but we'll see We'll see if Juha's able to keep Grant at bay. That's a 4 DFR engine in that LaRousse, isn't it?
Whoa, David Jacks just held back by David Sabre there, and Ray Riddle has been closing in, and now is closer than ever.
Brian Janik comes into the pits, so we have one of our first pit stops here, presumably for tires. He's coming in very slowly here, slower than
there's pit speed limit in
Okay.
in this track.
All right, fair enough. And that puts Johnny Aces up into 6th place. Good for him. Driving his Delara Judd. Tim Hill is still 5th. 4th is Little Al. 3rd, Ray Riddle. 2nd, David Jakeson. 1st, Anders Nilsson. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this group and see who decides to come for tires first.
Janik appears to have lost his engine. Nope, it's just started again.
Oh, goodness.
Noticed he had his engine off in the box there. He's going to want to be careful. He's going to break the pit speed limit if he's not careful.
Oh! He probably forgot just then about the speed limit, so we may see him coming back in later. My goodness,
Juha Boss had a big moment there in the turn before, and Grant Riddle nearly was able to overtake him there going into turn 1.
Yeah, this is heating up a lot here. Grant's definitely all over the back end of Juha here.
Yeah, Juha's feeling the pressure, and they've been now bunched together. Anders got now a good lead, but Rai is now close to David Jakes again. Like I said, he's going to have nightmares tonight with the McLarens.
Yes, he will. Nilsson coming up on, I believe this is Bouchard, yes. Yeah, so we'll have to keep a close eye on this group. We're not sure when they're going to be coming in the pits, but it's definitely going to affect the outcome of the race.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long, because even if you are going for the same tires on the second stint, on the first one, because of the heavier fuel load, you will be obviously wearing them out much more. So if you are using the same tire combination, then probably you should be entering slightly earlier than half race. Jakes is now signaling the pits.
Ah!
Maybe it's automatic, but...
It could be, but it's the Windows paperclip, maybe, but we'll see. I'm sure Jakes has thought a lot about this strategy here and when he's going to come in.
If he's going for the pits, it will be probably a good decision because he's coming into traffic. So let's see what happens now. Yes.
In traffic. Yes, David Jakes comes to the pits. It's next of our leaders. He drops to 4th in doing so, and my goodness, that's such a crawl coming through the pit lane there.
And now Riddle and Little Al need to really push it, because this is one of those situations where you can gain here the position. Well, Jakes was not so absolutely close as to be able to decide this thing with a 1 second advantage in the pit stop, but anything can happen. So there's a moment to push and see what happens when you come out of your own pit stop. Jakes is already crawling out. And he's now at race speed.
It's interesting, too. Here you got the one McLaren pushing the other one, so...
He just came out in front of his teammate, Jonatan, in the other Dallara.
Mm-hmm. And Jonatan has not stopped yet. I gotta say, this version of Suzuka, which within AMS is known as Kansai, this is a beautifully modeled Suzuka.
Yep. And Ray Riddle is now signaling the pits also.
Okay, so now we're going to see if the extra lap that they spent out hammering away is going to give them the overlap. I'm guessing that they're not going to be... Well, obviously, they can't pit at the same time because it's one pit stall per team, correct?
Probably.
That's the way it is. Oh my goodness! Ray very close to losing it there. We'll see what happens when they clear the chicane here.
I
We
hope
know.
that Little Al can go a bit further because, as you say, if not, it's going to be a bottleneck there. Okay. there's
No,
a goal.
that's good. I'm
But
sure.
now Little Al can play that game. So careful there.
Little Al in second place now.
I'll be back in a moment.
All right.
Oh, I think Ray may have just crept over the speed there.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens if he incurs a penalty. We'll know because it'll have a stop go on the board.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's done on average speed, and he slowed right down after it, so he may just get away with it.
All right, let's
he's
see.
filling out.
Yeah, he's okay. But
So I just got a quick in-car interview with Little Al. I just asked him, and he says that his tires are so fine that he's considering not even stopping.
My goodness, that's a surprising development.
I don't think they will last till the end of the race, but well, at least it seems that he can do many more laps now.
It's certainly worth a try because you can go for very soft tires and a very short last stint then.
Oh, that's a good point. If you can stretch it out that long, then you can do really soft tires for the end because you have lower fuel load. No, that's a good point, Dave.
I think the softs could be overheating, but yeah, I don't know if he tried that when he was preparing the setup. Whatever the case, it seems to look well for him now. Jonatan also signaling the pits now.
Okay. Tim Hill has been elevated to third with these pit stops. You see there on the Jordan, the extra patch of blue up by the airbox. They've got extra Pepsi sponsorship at this race. Actually, it's Pepsi in place of 7-Up. So I'm guessing...
More caffeine, more fun.
Well, I'm guessing that 7-Up was not sold in Japan, perhaps, and so they PepsiCo, which would have been the parent company of 7-Up, I guess figured we'll put Pepsi on here for this race. I'm just spitballing. I don't know if that's true, but I'm guessing that's why. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see if Tim comes in at some point here.
So Thiago Canola now also signaling the pits. It seems that it's about time for many people.
Yeah, Tim stays out.
Brian Janik now getting really anxious there, overtaking Juha Boss. That was really hairy. He seems to be trying to recover the position, not losing any moment after having had his pit stop. But Juha is counter-attacking now.
Yeah, Johnny Ace is in the pits now, dropping back down to 6th, but a great race for Jonatan so far in this Dallara.
Oh, and they are going to bottleneck Anders Nilsson, who is coming. Look at that, because Brian Janik and Juha Boss, they are in a fight for 10th position. And Juha is in his right to defend. But they are going to be bottlenecking Anders Nilsson royally.
Well, the pit board has come out for Anders Nilsson, so he's going to the pits. I doubt he's going to try to overtake these two.
Yeah, but he has a lot of time there.
True. He backs way off going into the left-hander. Yeah, he just wants to get it into the pits at this point. Juha looking up the... Oh my, there's contact between Juha and Brian Janik. My goodness. Into the pits comes Nilsson. He's like, I don't want any part of that. Slowing right down.
I've seen enough of this.
Yeah, I'll pit now, thank you. And KO is just in front. It's a busy pit lane. We got Canola in here as well, so this appears to be the ideal time for pit stops. Oh, that was a bit awkward because you could...
Oh, no!
What? Oh my goodness, Canola!
Pits there.
My goodness!
Together in the pit lane.
I heard the engine of Thiago revving up behind Nilsson, but I didn't think he was going to be in any problem. But yeah, look at that. As soon as he comes in, going back here, watch this. Oh my goodness. Thiago was rolling, and Nilsson comes in. Oh my goodness! Look at Canola running over a little bump there. We mentioned that the Suzuka front straight is on a downhill slope, and look at that. He just caroms right off the top of a transition hump between one garage and the other.
And David Jakes has just gone put round the outside of him in turn 1.
My goodness, it's all happening here at Suzuka.
Yeah,
Jakes.
Little Al is leading the race now.
All right, so here we go. This is it's show and tell time for Little Al. Because he said over the radio to his dad, Big Al, that he's thinking about going the whole race without a stop. Now, whether he can do that or not is another matter, but certainly interesting.
It'll certainly be an incredible drive if he can pull it off.
Well, I think Gabriel Piccolo already did it. Was that right? He did one race without stopping.
I think with the pit speed limit enforced for this race, it's certainly a viable strategy.
Yes, I would agree with that.
That's true. So Juha was coming now into the pits. And he is desperating this thing with a pit.
Yep, there he is, rolling in 10th place. That contact with, and you can see the carcass of his teammate in the garage already with one wheel missing. So, there goes Juha out of the pits. That was a very fast stop. Obviously, just for tires, they don't refuel in this version of Formula One. Out he comes in 12th place.
So Little Al's last lap was 144.6. David Yates, who is following him, is 144.3. So it's obviously slightly quicker. But if Little Al was able to hold on to the rest of the race with those tires, which I think we all doubt, but anyway, I don't think it would suffice for David Yates to get to him. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
Anders is definitely staying right with Jakes. And I think this is where a lot of the action's going to be for the foreseeable future in this race. These two proved earlier on that they were very well matched, and now that the pit stops are out of the way, they can just focus their attention on the battle in front of them.
And also behind, because Ray Riddle just scored the quickest lap of the race, 143.
Ooh.
So I'm guessing he had actually used softer tires. And what happened was that when he started dropping like a stone, after that brilliant start of the race, it was because the tires were worn out. But if he has done the same strategy for this second stint, and now with way less fuel, well, that could probably make him the quickest car on track.
Coming down to the chicane again, Nilsson giving him a little, hey, hello, I'm right here. Coming up on, I believe that was a Ferrari. Yeah, David Saber. Or no, I'm sorry. Misidentifying cars. It's Jake's. Jake's taking a defensive... No, there is a Ferrari there. Okay, I was right. Jake's taking a defensive posture into turn one there. But these two are pretty evenly matched in terms of skill and car. Oh my goodness, a bit of an awkward moment there as... well, Saber gets out of the way of both of them, but it looked a bit scary there for a second.
Yeah, overtaking these S's is a matter of coordination, because you go left, right, and the guy in front is doing the opposite, so at some point you do some kind of scissors and you get by. But if you don't time it well, it ends in tears.
Yep, Nilsson dropping back a little bit now, maybe just catching his breath. Maybe he'll take another stab at Jake's in a bit. Meanwhile, little Al continues to lead, and the question's going to be, how long can he go on those tires?
He's coming now to a bottleneck of traffic. Let's see how he can negotiate that. Fortunately for him, it's in the main straight, so...
Yeah, it's a great place for it. Should be easy for him to bypass these cars. It's Hackman. Goes up the inside. Yeah, textbook overtake. There's Chacon exiting the pits, so... Yeah, we'll have to keep a close eye on little Al's lap times, because they will tell whether his tire strategy is going to work, or if it's just, or if it's too much of a stretch to push those tires that long.
Well, the one with potential to demolish the lap times is Ray Riddle now.
Yeah, no question.
He has been bottled also in traffic. It's very interesting because, as we already said, this is a track where traffic is quite complicated, so even if you have the potential to go very quick, you can have many problems if you're stuck in an area where you can't overtake and you're losing there second after second. Right now, that's probably the case for Little Al, who is finding this battle between Brian Janik and Grant Riddle, who just touched.
Yeah, he gets around Janik with no problem, but really fortunate that some space ended up getting between the two of them there, so it makes it easier for little Al to get by.
And it's interesting that Anders Nilsson had so much pace in the first stint, and now he's struggling to get behind David Jakes.
Yeah, we've seen a few near misses in lapping situations here, but thankfully no big disasters. I mean, the biggest schmozzle we saw was at the end of lap 1, but that didn't involve lapping. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I was going to say, I wonder if Nilsson's carrying any slight damage from that contact in the pit lane.
Yeah, that could be the case.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he may very well be. And that happened after he came in, so it's not like they could have actively done anything about it there as little Al overtakes, of course, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. If that contact had happened before he came to a stop, then the game would have automatically said, oh, we're going to spit shine this car until there's no tomorrow.
Now David Jakes is bottled behind Thiago Canola, and bang, immediately Anders Nilsson came way closer.
Yep.
That's also been the case for Little Al because of getting bottlenecked behind Brian and Grant in the previous fight, and Jakes was able to close on him. Now let's see if Jakes also has bad luck or good luck in the overtakings.
He's by Nilsson. I'm sorry, not Nilsson. Bouchard. Oh no, it's not Bouchard. That would be Matusek because Bouchard's out of the race.
I think a very loose moment at the hairpin for Yannick. I think he may have cooked his tyres there.
Oh, goodness! Johnny Aces is out of the race! His back is against the wall. This looks like it happened at the... Oh, I think it happened at the fast left-hander. We're looking at a replay right now. That's too bad because he was having such a good run in this car. He heads into the left-hand turn. The car pushes out, and he just hits the... Yeah, he clipped the curb, and it just sent the car into an oversteer, and he backs it right into the barrier. Loses... Oh my goodness, he lost a lot of parts there. That's just too bad. Johnny Ace is out of the race. Sad to see that. Janik
to do. I've had the exact same accident in testing.
Janik soldiering on in 7th place. You got to wonder if he has any damage himself from that altercation that he had earlier that we caught on camera. But now he's up to 6th with the retirement of Jonatan Acerclinth. So into the points once again for Brian Janik. Tim Hillett is back to 5th again. See if Ray's making any inroads into Anders Nilsson. No, not yet. Doesn't appear to be. At least not visually.
I think Anders just collected...
about 1 second apart, but nothing's changing there.
I think Anders may have collected one of Jonathan's wheels coming out of the chicane there. I don't know if that'll have done anything to his car.
Sometimes it's a toss-up with that. Sometimes it makes no difference. Other times it'll actually damage your car. God knows that I've hit many front and rear wing shrapnel in a USAC race, and it didn't seem to have a problem for me. So it really depends on the mod, I guess. Jake's definitely pushing the limits here, and Nilsson right there with him.
Yeah, I don't think that Jakes is right now thinking so much of Little Alice of Anders Nilsson. He probably thinks Little Al is going to stop sooner or later, and then he will get the lead again. But Anders is now a very tangible menace.
So the gap between Jakes and Little Al right now is 28.117 seconds, which is a pretty sizable gap when we've got 20 laps to go.
Yeah, well, it's about the pit stop, actually.
Yes.
But it's decreasing. Because it's going into the low 27s, and maybe Little Al's tires are starting to fall off the cliff. Maybe he overheated them.
You know, the gap decreased a tiny bit on that lap, but of course it's less than a second difference, so nothing crazy. No need to push the panic button, but yes, we're gonna have to keep a close eye on Little Al's lap times. Oh my goodness, he has a loose moment.
Yeah, 20 laps to go, so it's a long distance on those tires.
Yeah, He just had definitely a very pucker moment coming into the fast left-hander before you get to the hairpin. So he's got to be very careful. He's got an open track in front of him now, so that ought to let his stress level drop a tiny bit. But it'll be if Little Al can pull this off, it will definitely be one of the more memorable performances of 2020. But we'll see. Oh, and yes, Juha Boss is out of the race. We didn't catch what happened there, but apparently some kind of an incident. Oh, both Jonatan and Juha are in the green room. Let's bring them both in here. This is going to be a crowded booth.
Sorry.
Oh, Jonatan, sorry to see you out of the race. We saw what happened on the screen. You just clipped that curb in just the wrong way, and it was just enough to send your car into the barrier, kind of in an oversteer situation. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I suppose that. I mean, I was taking that line and was mounting that curb all through the race, but yeah, I unfortunately had no onboard rear and roll bar change, so that had failed on the car. So I was driving with an oversteer car already, and as soon as that happened, it was just good night, unfortunately.
Well, it was a good debut for you, though.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the pace. Just really frustrated that I don't get a 5th or 6th place finish for it. But hopefully the rear and roll bar thing will be sorted by Adelaide, and we'll have a good race there.
And Juha, it looked as if like you had some pretty intense battles going on with Grant Riddall. But what put you out of the race?
The engine.
Oh shoot!
Just shifted down and it went.
That DFR.
Yeah, well, it's not as solid as the McLaren, apparently.
No,
McLaren's engine.
No disrespect to Ford, but those DFR engines always sound kind of weird to me. Like I don't know if this is going to be running much longer. But
yeah, well, it was great fun, and the car handled nice, and not sure if we could get much out of it, but it was running okay.
So you're happy that you've made the switch still from McLaren to...
Well, if I see where the McLaren is, it's not a good switch, but in terms of driving pleasure, it's a really nice car. I enjoy driving it.
Well,
we'll see what I do for Adelaide. Maybe I'll go to something else.
Well, the interesting bit here is that Big Al has been on the radio to Little Al, and the story at the moment is that Little Al is going to try to go the rest of the way with no stops on this set of tires, which we're all kind of scratching our heads going, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
I mean, there are...
I just had a quick peep, and in his screen, the tires are really, well, in orange, the four of them.
Boy.
But he says that the car is driving nicely. One thing he could do, though, is hold on for a bit and then put mediums in front and softs on the rear for a short final stint.
But then he'd really have to book it, because I don't think he'd be able to get out of pits ahead of Jakes and Nilsson. He may be lucky to get out ahead of Ray, but it's an interesting strategy. We'll see how it works. But this has turned out to be a very exciting Japanese Grand Prix because of the development of the championship leader not being in the race. Initially, it seemed that it was going to be a big letdown, but we were quickly shown that was not the case, because there was just some incredible driving at the front. You guys are going to have to watch the broadcast after this, because there is just some incredible action early on. Some of the best driving that we've seen in this series so far. Little Al coming up to lap the only Brabham in the race, driven by Thomas Matusik. Sporting different rear wings in this race. Looks like they picked up a sponsor. Autobox, whatever that is.
I believe that's a Japanese car parts store.
Well, there you go. Yeah, local sponsor then that they pick up. And Nilsson staying right with David Jakes. So these two not really fighting for the position right now, but they're definitely in shouting distance of each other. Ray continuing in 4th place. Tim Hilla having an excellent race, too, in 5th, considering, we mentioned earlier, the bad results that he's had recently for Jordan. So it's nice to see him in the points for a change.
Yeah, Jakes and Nilsson are together on the radio, on TeamSpeak, and they're probably trying not to hamper each other. They are going to, as long as they are doing a good rhythm, they will be going together, and then at some point, the gloves will be off when the fight is there for the best position possible.
And Tiago is in 7th place, having a pretty good run here in the Leighton house. I'm not sure if he's actually a full-time driver in this car. It's kind of academic whether you are or aren't a full-time driver at this point, because there's only one race to go after this one. But Tiago looking quite good in the House of Leighton rig. Grant continuing on here in 8th place. It's good to see some spirited battles earlier that Grant had. We haven't seen as much of him this year as we would have wanted to, but he's definitely getting a lot of speed out of this Lotus. It's lightweight, as Johnny Aces reminded us of when he was driving it.
Yeah, it's not a bad handling car. It's very light and works well. It's just on the power.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the power. And David Saber is in 9th place in the lone Ferrari. I don't believe Mike Olsen started this race, or if he did, he was out very quickly. But not been the best year for Ferrari, but it's nice to see a top 10 result in the cards for Maranello. And then 10th is, well, Hackman is still shown as, Hackman's out of the race. I'm not sure when this happened, but this is unfortunate because he was having a decent run. Shoot. That means Bruno actually will be elevated into the top 10 here, so perseverance once again paying off for Bruno Chacon. KO is running 12th. He will eventually be 11th. And Michael Drexler, the last car running. Oh, I spoke too soon. He had a very, oh my goodness, he had a very violent off-course excursion there in the Fonmetal, but he is continuing on. No, the last driver is Tomas Matusek in 14th, soon to be 13th.
And I'm surprised that Little Al is able to keep that gap. Still 19 seconds. I mean, it's obviously decreasing, but it's decreasing slower than you would expect.
So the question is, can he maintain enough of a gap and let it be whittled away slowly?
If he was able to keep this rhythm till the end of the race, it would suffice, because it's 19 seconds, but I don't think it's going to be, well, we've got now 15 laps to the end, so 1 second per lap would not suffice. But at some point, the tires could be going down a cliff, and then everything will be over.
Well, he's probably figuring I can give away a little bit of lap and I should be okay. Of course, a lot of that also depends upon the traffic situation. That could throw a monkey wrench into his plans. He's coming up on KO Michiels here. Not that KO is going to be a pain in the neck to get around, but it's a situation where if you just arrive at a corner in an awkward time,
just find the car in the right place.
Exactly. It's just it's a lot like throwing the dice in Vegas. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes you arrive at an opportune time. Other times you don't. Like here, this is kind of an awkward situation.
Well,
that was rather inventive of KO.
Oh, Little is signaling pits.
All right, here we go. So
Maybe
I guess
it's the automated.
It could be the automated one. We don't know.
Too uncomfortable. I don't know.
Yeah, he hasn't looked unstable. But we'll see what happens here if it is an actual pit stop. And then to Dave's point, if it is a pit stop, will he be going with softer tires so that he can attack in the last few laps?
Yeah,
and indeed, he is coming into the pits. Little Al making a pit stop for tires. And this is most certainly going to cost him the lead, but if he puts on softer rubber, we could have a really interesting charge to the front again here. He's already off the jacks. He's rolling. And I believe here comes Jakes takes the lead. Nilsson is in second. Little Al's going to exit the pits in third, I believe, although where is Ray Radal?
Now.
No, Ray Radal now. So that drops Little Al all the way to fourth. So I hope he put really soft tires in there because he's going to need them.
We will see that in a moment.
Anders is taking the lead.
My goodness, and in looking at the pit stop, yeah, here it is. In watching the pit stop, we missed Anders taking the lead from David. Here's the replay coming out of the chicane, and Anders had him set up really well. Jakes thought about going to the right, but it was too late. Nilsson had already claimed that lane for himself, and he powers on by. So Nilsson back into the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix.
And I know in the case of David there, he's been struggling a little bit with the chicane from lap to lap, as does Anders, so I reckon that was a very good chicane from Anders, gave him the run down the straights.
Yeah, it looked like that was probably a chicane incident. We didn't go back far enough to look, but my guess is that Jakes just had an awkward chicane exit as they're coming up now to Brian Janik. But look at Jakes there. He's right in the toe of... Right in the toe. Oh, my goodness. Dealing with aero washout there. My goodness. All right. He looks really well placed here. The awkward presence of, Janik's car is going to give Nilsson a nice boost in speed. Look at Jake's following Nilsson's back end like a snake going down the straight there.
Now, this is one of those situations we've mentioned before. They are absolutely bottlenecked there behind Brian Janik.
Yeah,
it's
Janik
is. To pass here.
There's no way they can get by. Even if Janik wanted to let them by, it would just be like really awkward. But look at this. He's right with him now. My goodness. These turns are some of the most scary on the track right here. The one before this one is pretty crazy. That turn is actually a little more. Oh my goodness. Jake's looking up the he's looking on the outside now, but my goodness. God, he's giving Nilsson no rest at all. By the way, for those of you who maybe haven't seen it on our YouTube channel, we did a podcast about the 1986 mod, and we're probably going to be doing another podcast sooner or later detailing other cars in the 2021 season. But so there's Jake's getting by Cale McHeels.
Very difficult move, very well played out.
Yeah, very well executed.
And he's there again with Anders. It's incredible.
Whoa! K.O. McKeel's providing some excitement there.
Little Al is definitely going quicker than Ray Radal. He's catching up with him. So either he had softer tires or he simply is going quicker.
Well, that'll be interesting. I hope there are no team orders.
Look at that. Quickest lap by Little Al.
Yeah, 142.351.
So yeah, he's likely on the softest tires now.
I'm sure he is. No question. 13 cars left in the race. And there are 11 laps to go now. Oh, oversteering moment for Nilsson here as he goes into the hairpin.
Little Al's dropped it.
No! Little Al off the track. Is he intact, though? He looks like he's intact.
Apparently no damage. What happened there?
Let's look at a replay.
Pushing it too much to try to...
It looks like he ran off the track.
Yeah, and the braking.
Under braking for the hairpin.
He
yeah.
picked a bit of the grass in the braking. Yeah, no damage, but well, there goes likely his chances of.
Still a points finish in the cards, but good grief, he was lucky to not hit anything there.
Yep.
Evans has just found something extra in reserve. That's quite a fast lap he's just set there.
Well, Anders, ever since he joined the Benetton team, has shown that this is a great match of car and driver. He had some excellent results, when he was with Minardi, but I think it's fair to say he's really found a vehicle that he's comfortable with here. Anders has also proven himself to be versatile this year. He's had some successes in the USAC series. So I wonder if he's going to be driving the sports cars next year, how he'll do there. I would venture to say he'd probably do okay. Versatility seems to be one of his best strong suits. Into the spoon curve one more time. They're working lap 43. They'll be starting lap 44 next time by. So the final round of the series is going to be in Adelaide, Australia. And since you gentlemen are here that are going to be competing there, I mean, the obvious question for Dave is going to be, how do you prepare for that race? Because there's a lot on the line, but it's a very different track from Suzuka, obviously.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenging one. I was quite hoping to not have to take it to Adelaide, but hey-ho. Yeah, it's going to be a very tricky one with a lot of slow corners. The Williams really doesn't like that sort of thing. I certainly struggled to get it front-running pace at a place like Monaco, and struggled with keeping it on the road in Phoenix. So we'll see. We're putting a lot of laps in for sure.
What about Jonatan and Juha? Any thoughts on the final round coming up on November 29th?
Well, the one thing to keep in mind with it being a street circuit and being Adelaide, just like at Monaco, the walls are right beside the track. You have almost no room for error, so I think a lot of laps to get the consistency in there, and then hope that you stay within that limit and the consistency that you put up, and that it's good enough to get a points finish or at least a finish.
Well, it'll be an interesting race no matter what happens, I can guarantee that. Adelaide's an interesting track.
It's going to be really tiresome. Keeping the concentration there with all those walls lingering around. Poof, that's going to be really, really complicated. And little Al now hits the wall. Oh, whoa.
Oh no, he's lost his front wing. Shoot.
I gather he put different tires and they are not working for him.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, pushing very hard and just. That's too bad. Well, we can't say he didn't try his best.
Yep.
All right, so clearly little Al's going to be heading for the pits to fix that nose. And this. I don't think that Tim Hill is going to be able to catch him. Well, it depends on how long it takes the McLaren people to fit a new nose. On it goes. Looks like they're changing tires too. That's curious, but keeping an eye on Tim Hill. Tim Hill is way too far back. So yeah, little Al will actually retain fourth place here. So, but yeah, that's pretty unfortunate to have that happen so close to the end.
So it seems that he had indeed switched to mediums and softs, but it didn't work as he expected. They were not overheating, but for whatever reason, the setup or his reference points after driving so many laps with the other tires, it didn't work for him.
Well, that's understandable. If you spent the whole race setting your marks.
Oh, look at that. That's
Oh.
Tim Hille. Now you gotta fight for that position. Well,
Oh, yeah, there he goes. He just slipped by. I thought there was going to be just enough time to get by.
barely. It was barely, and now
It was
he
just
has,
barely enough, and he slips by. So now
9 laps to make it back to the front of Tim Hille, so he
My
can
goodness.
get the 4th position.
Well,
That
Tim.
is if the 3 cars in front to finish. It shouldn't be. Oh, look at that! Just as we talked, David Yates nearly lost it there.
heading into the first turn. Oh my goodness, that was very close. That'll cost him some time, so... But yeah, he's definitely pushing as hard as he can. And he's off the track again! My goodness. David Jake's having tire issues. Lots of grip issues here. It's strange that maybe he went for a softer compound too, and it's just not working for him.
Careful there, because now Ray Riddle is only 4 seconds behind David Yates. With all this situation.
Could also be in terms of David there that him trying to keep up with Anders overheated
Yes.
the tires a little bit, and that's something he's trying to get back now.
And he's likely using way less aerodynamic downforce in that Dallara to be able to keep up. And that's obviously taking a toll on the tires.
Yeah, we had suspected that he had the car trimmed out before, and it's true. It might actually be having a very adverse effect on this new set.
Now Yates is 11 seconds behind Anders Nilsson.
What is the speed limit in the pits for these guys? 62 kph?
I'll
Yeah,
write
something
it down,
like
so
that.
allow me.
37 miles an hour. Or 60 kph.
Mm-hmm. All right. See how Jakes does in the turn this time.
Tim Hille now pushing it as much as he can, trying to hold on to that position. Defending from Little Al. It's going to be hard because Little Al
Little Al's in the
has
garage.
now new tires.
Oh, Little Al's out of the
no.
race.
Oh,
no. What happened? Little Al out of the race. Here's the replay. You can see he's got a bit of clag.
I reckon it'll be up at Dunlop here.
He's got clag on that left rear wheel there as he comes around here. Oh, shoot. Adverse camber corner.
It's just over the bump. There's a bit of a bump just where he lost it, so...
And he just
it's
quit.
Unfortunate.
His engine was running. I guess he's just like, oh, forget this. It's too bad.
Probably he had a blown tire and was not up to go into clawing back to the pits.
Well, that brings Brian Janik up to 5th place now. And it basically assures that Tim Hille will finish 4th if he can keep going. A great result for Tim. And I'm sure
It's
the
now
pep...
a matter of watching if Ray Riddle can catch up with David Yates.
He's getting closer.
Not a lot, but inch by inch he's getting closer. But it's still 4 seconds to go. And only 7 laps. He can see him, that's for sure. .2 seconds. And it seems to me that David Yates has really destroyed tires by now.
And you can see Ray just out the back there, just a little small blip, and that's him.
Yeah, the distance is now under 3 seconds. Goes slightly up and down a bit depending on the part of the track, but yeah, Ray is on a mission now.
Yeah, he's getting closer and closer. Well, patience and perseverance definitely paying off for several people in this race.
Indeed.
And that's one of the nice things about racing is it's not always raw speed that wins. It's tactics, it's patience, it's a lot of things. Jakes looks like he's under pretty good control here. If those tires are shot, it doesn't seem to show right here.
Well, he's going slower than Rai Riddle, that's for
Yep.
sure. The distance is now only 2.5 seconds. I mean, since we last checked it, Rai has been able to cut it down half a second, a full half second, and it's now even lower.
Heading into the home stretch here in the Japanese Grand Prix. So to remind our viewers, by the way, our viewership here today has set ISO records, I believe. At our peak, we had 25 people watching, which I don't think we've had that high a number of people before.
So looking at the lap times, Rai is doing 0.6 of a second per lap quicker than David Jakes.
So it's just a matter of when they'll get there.
Yep.
Yep.
But as we all know, getting there is one thing and overtaking is another. And this is not exactly the easiest track to overtake.
Before we get to the finish here real quickly, I want to point out what's coming up at ISO. Next week, the Trenton Times 300, rounds 11 and 12 of the USAC Championship. Mr. Jakes that we've been talking about has a chance to wrap up his USAC Championship there. It's incredibly unlikely that his nearest challenger will catch him, but he still has one more points finish to go before he can wrap it up. And then the Foster's Australian Grand Prix on November 29th, followed by, on December 6th, the Arizona 150 to close out the USAC series. That's what's coming up at ISO. Riddle continuing to close. But is there time to catch him?
I believe there'll be time to catch him. The question is whether he'll have time to pass him.
Just exiting the chicane now.
It's certainly David Jakes is doing all that he can, because the distance is, it's decreasing, but it's not as if Rai is all over him already. It will take still maybe 1-2 laps more, maybe, to get there, and then there will only be 2 laps more to make the overtaking maneuver, so that's not really a lot of margin for Rai.
And as a testament to how fast and furious the race pace has been, there are only 4 cars on the lead lap right now. 5th place Brian Janik is the first of the cars that's a lap down. So these guys have just been setting a blistering pace all day long.
The
all
distance
race
now
long.
seems to be frozen. David Jakes has responded very well to the pressure from Rai Vidal.
Well, Nilsson found his form too late to challenge for the championship, but it certainly bodes well for next year. Of course, we have no clue which car he's going to get for 86 or USAC, but I think it's fair to say that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if he finds a car that suits him really well, like this Benetton suits him.
Yeah, the thing is, the speed won't be the only thing next year. There will be a need for a lot of strategic thinking. And if you look at the people that were champions during this era, yeah, obviously there was Ayrton Senna, who was very quick. Nigel Mansell had very bad luck. But if you look at Prost, for example, or if you look at Niki Lauda, who won in the early 80s his 3rd championship, you can see that they were people that were very, very strategic. They were very clever. They were sympathetic with the car, not damaging the mechanics of it, and they were also able to think a lot during the races. Alain Prost was very well known for that, and you can see when you watch resumes of the 86 season, you can see that Prost was basically giving up starting position, and he could not care much more about it because he knew that it was a long-term race. And then he was like mid-pack for a good part of the race, and then towards the end of the race he was there and he won the races. So we should be watching something like that next year. I mean, it will be a completely strategic thing, playing with the boost up and down, watching the competition, and well, watching your own lap times.
Lauda, quite famously in his championship year, didn't qualify on even in the top 6 for most races. Certainly didn't qualify on pole for any race that year.
Yep. So right now seems to be pushing it much more to try to get that position. The distance is now only 1.6 seconds, but he's running out of time.
He is. The clock is ticking down, and it's going to be 2 laps to go coming up here. And yeah, I think Jakes may have just done what he needed to do. We'll see. Nice job through the chicane there. Very clean. And it's pretty amazing considering that Jakes had an off-course excursion or two in this stint that he's still able to maintain second.
Only 2 laps to make it. Now the distance is under 1 second. It's getting really tight for David Jakes at the end of this race.
It is. Tim Hille is running 4th, and the interval back is immense. So doesn't look like that's going to play into anything towards the end here. But definitely race closing. He's probably going to have 1 shot on the final lap, I would think here. Maybe. Assuming he doesn't make any mistakes.
Anders is actually getting close to Tim Hille now, so it could be very well that in this race only the podium finishers will not be lapped.
That's incredible.
It is.
Nilsson coming down to the far end of the track, the spoon curve, and then he'll be heading back downhill towards the very fast left-hander and the chicane start-finish line to start his final lap of the Japanese Grand Prix. Well, you called it, Alberto. That it would be
what a fight that David Jakes is putting up today. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
For people that are not really aware of what's going on, having such an inferior car and having been able to hold for so long there, it's really amazing. Now, look, he's now going to start not just to drive, but also to be defensive. Let's see, because in this main straight here, well, he made a very good exit here. So that will probably give him room for 1 more lap. But it's amazing.
We'll see. Ray has got some excellent grip on the backside of the course here. We'll see what happens. Looking down from the chopper here, you can see how much he closes in here in this section. He's definitely handling a lot better through here than Jakes is. Getting very close now. My goodness. Through now the 2 right-handers that lead you into the section that takes you under the track. Right there. Oh my goodness, very close. I don't know, Ray might have a shot. But he's going to have to stay very close to Jakes if he has any hope. A lot of it's going to be determined by this spoon curve, I think, coming up here.
For sure.
Which Nilsson is in right now. Oh, here they come into the spoon curve. Jakes pushes out wide, but has good control of the car. And now it's going to be a question of that Honda horsepower coming down this hill here. Can that make the difference before they get to the chicane? Nilsson, just exiting the left-hander, heads down to the chicane. Doesn't look like he's going to catch Tim Hille before the end, so Tim will finish on the lead lap, it appears.
Anderson Riddle now in the chicane.
Oh, my goodness. And Jakes looks like he's going to get in front. Nilsson wins the Japanese Grand Prix. And here come Jakes and Riddle off the corner. They're going to be side by side. Riddle overtakes him. Riddle takes second place. My goodness.
Oh, David must have missed a gear, I think.
Must have.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, man. Just in the last moment. Well, it's still a podium, but...
Let's watch what happens coming off the corner. Here's the replay. Here's the replay. No, he didn't miss a gear. Maybe he was just a little too conservative.
Yeah, probably also because of the worn tires. He could not accelerate that much out of the corner.
Man. All right, Tim Hille, he's still going around the track. He's still got to complete this lap to finish 4th. But, goodness, that was a great charge by Ray at the end there, and an excellent debut in the McLaren. And good job for David Jakes as well, giving it everything he had to the end.
Bruno Chacon also gets a top 10. He's 9th.
That's good. Yeah,
Bruno rounds out that top 10, and Michael Drexler has taken the car home.
11th place in that very much maligned Fond Metal. Yeah, here comes Tim Hilla, and the cars you're just mentioning, just in front of him. So here comes Tim Hilla, and I'm sure he's very happy with this result. And good result too for KO. He finished 11th in the previous race, and he's finished 10th here now. So he's finally getting the hang of this Ligier Lamborghini, which is, I think he would readily admit, is not an easy car to drive.
I think I'm also very happy to see David Saber get to finish a race. He's
yes,
a lot with these cars, but he finishes 8th here.
Yeah, that's really good. That here's David motoring in just now, finishing 8th for Maranello. A rare top 10 finish for the Scarlet Red car. Yeah, that's great to see as well. And Grant Riddall finishing in 7th in the Lotus. Tiago scores a point also in his drive, and Brian Janik 5th. So a lot of good performances here today. All right. So that was the Fuji Television Japanese Grand Prix. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts before we bring in our winner here?
Well, we had the show last till the finish line. It was incredible to see the third and second position swap. It's amazing that after so many laps in this track, the differences were so small that they could swap the positions there. But then again, it was, I think, the canonical Formula One race of the era.
Absolutely. As much as I'm disappointed not to be able to take more part in it myself, absolutely a fantastic race to watch, and well done to Anders, Ray and Dave. That was a fantastic drive all round there.
It was good fun to drive in. I did get to drive at least 33 laps, I think, and had some really good battles along the way. Put a decent pass on Juha, for example, so really good fun overall.
Yep, same for me. Had great fun for half the race, which is about as long as the DFR will last. So we'll have to see what happens in Adelaide if I can pick up something else. I'm glad to see my old car did well. Probably a lot better than it would have done had I driven it. So I'm happy.
All right, so here's the winner now. Anders Nilsson, congratulations. And congratulations on... No, you're right. Congratulations on winning the Japanese Grand Prix. A great drive and some incredible action, especially early on between you and Ray Riddall. It has to be a very strenuous contest, especially the first half, I would think.
It was really tough. Ray was really fast, and I was actually quite happy staying in, try to stay with him and in his pace in the beginning. It was just awesome. And yeah.
You had a bit of a scary moment in the pits there, where it's a bit of a communication problem with another car. Did that cause you any damage at all?
You mean when Tiago or what?
Yeah, pulling out of the pits, I believe, and there was just a little bit of a miscue.
I don't think I got any damage at all.
So in the end, there, your main competition was David Jakes, and it looked as if there might be some a chance for him to catch you there. But towards the end, it looks like you just had the right car and at the right time for what lay ahead for you for the end.
Yeah, I think I can thank the car and my friend that helps me with setup. And I mean, my car is better than Jake's car, so I think that was the difference today. He really kept me honest. It was an awesome race. I have never driven so hard, I think. And yeah, it was great fun.
Well, we go to Adelaide next, and we've already asked Jonatan and Juha and Dave about what their thoughts are about Adelaide. What do you think about the final race of the year and how that's going to play out?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is walls.
No.
I never raced in an F1 car on that track, it's probably the long one also. So.
Oh yes,
it's going to be a first for me, and looking forward to it. But walls is what I think of when I think about that track.
All right, well, I guess that's going to wrap up our coverage for the evening. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we sign off?
Well, the only thing that we can say is that Adelaide is looking better than ever. It's going to be an awesome race because, well, many people have nothing to lose there, good cars, whereas Dave will need to be really, really conservative, but at the same time, getting sure of getting the points there. It's going to be really stressful, Dave. I'm sorry for you, but it's going to be a great ending for this championship.
Absolutely. As much as I'm dreading it, I also can't wait at the same time.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank our very full broadcast booth. I mean, when you have this many people in the booth, usually it can be a problem. But thanks, everybody, for your help, especially Dave Miller and Jonatan Acerclinth. Your points of view are always very helpful during the race. And Juha and of course, my Spanish color commentator, Mr. Ibañez. Thanks very much. Hope to see you all for our next USAC race and for the final round on November 29th for this series. Until then, this is Jason White saying so long from Suzuka.